being here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And my Vice Chair, Jadine, will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Judy. Good morning, Democrats. I am Leong, the chair of the DNC AAPI Caucus. I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, delegates, guests, friends, and family, to the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, which is where the home of the 2016 Democratic National Convention. I know you are all as excited as I am to be here this week. We're going to be making history in electing the first woman president. So are we ready to elect Hillary Clinton as our next president? Come on, guys, you can do better than that. Are we ready? We're going to fight for Democrats up and down the ballot. As we saw last week, this is a very, very crucial election for us. There cannot be a more stark contrast between the doom and gloom view of our country and the hopeful vision of our country by our party and our candidates. We must elect Democrats in November. The alternative is just not an option. Before we proceed with our program, let me take a moment right now to remember a very good friend. As some of you may know, last Wednesday, July 20th, we lost a very dear friend, a member of the Congressional APA Caucus, Congressman Takai. In his memory, I would like to ask for a moment of silence. Please bow your head. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to ask my Vice Chair, Jadine Nielsen, and delegate from Hawaii to say a few words in tribute to Mark. Jadine, please join us.
Aloha. Congressman Mark Takai was a congressman from Hawaii in the 1st District. He was elected in 2014. And a lot has been written about him in the national papers as well as the papers and media in Hawaii about his service. He was truly a wonderful public servant and committed to the issues. But I'm going to speak about him as my friend. I knew him for years because he was in our state legislature for about 20 years before he ran for Congress. And when he ran for Congress, that was really exciting. Even though I had known him for a while, I actually wanted to talk to him about what he's going to do in Congress, how committed he was to the APIA agenda and so forth, and he was just there. He cares about the issues, he cares about people. He really was the kind of person who took the issues seriously, and as long as I've known him, he's been solid. I want to tell a personal story that I, along with Senator Hirono in Hawaii, we were founders of the Patsy T. Mapes Political Action Committee. It was founded about 12 years ago. And we are patterned after Emily's List in that we support pro-choice Democratic women for state office. And Mark was a state legislator at the time, but at every one of our annual fundraisers, he would volunteer as a bartender. We called him one of our celebrity bartenders. And even though we were raising money for pro-choice Democratic women, and we were not giving any of the money to pro-choice Democratic men, he was there. From the beginning, he would come in early and set up for us. Then he was a bartender throughout our event, and at the end, he was often the last one to leave because he just believed in our cause, and he was cleaning up after all of us. It's been really an honor to know him. One of the last times I saw him was just a couple of months ago at his kickoff fundraiser for his re-election campaign. And at that time, he was already going through chemo treatments, and it was a Wednesday night, and then he said, I gotta leave tonight because I'm going to have a treatment on Friday. But I will tell you, to that moment, he was optimistic, he was up, he was engaged, he really was looking forward to continuing to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives, and he had a background of serving not only in the military, but also the people of this country. So I just want you to know that he was a friend, a true Democrat, committed to our causes, and I will miss him tremendously. Thank you.
We have a very short video in his honor. Thank you all very much. At this time, let me take a moment to introduce someone who has demonstrated tremendous leadership on community issues like immigration reform, voting rights, and supporting small businesses both in and beyond the halls of Congress. She's the chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, which advocates for the needs of AAPIs across the nation. She serves on the House Small Business and House Judiciary Committee and founded and co-chairs the Congressional Creative Rights Caucus. Please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Judy Chu and CAPAC's chair. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill. And hello, AAPIs. How are you? Are you ready to elect Hillary Clinton? I can hear you. Are you ready to elect Hillary Clinton? Well, that is so great. We have 4 incredible days ahead of us. And there is so much that we need to do in these 4 days. We need to mobilize the whole country to be behind Hillary Clinton. And it's so great to see so many AAPIs right here in Philadelphia ready to participate in that process. More than ever, we need a president who will fight for us, somebody who will believe that America's diversity is our greatest strength. And you know what we don't need? Did any of you watch that Republican convention last week? I mean, did you feel like you were watching the Salem witch trials? And I also felt that we had somebody who was painting a pretty darn dark picture of America, a picture of America at its worst, a Gothic city with a bunch of ugly immigrants rolling around. That was Trump's picture of America. But we know that this is not right. We know that America is strong because of its immigrants. And that's the kind of picture we want to paint in these 4 days at the Philadelphia Convention. Now, I want to tell you about why AAPIs should support Hillary Clinton. We know that she is the best candidate to stand up to Donald Trump, who would take us so many steps backward. We know that she will move our country forward on so many issues, like immigration reform, like access to higher ed. But you know what is so incredibly impressive about her in a way that has really not been done before? It's her outreach to the AAPI population. And I want to tell you about this because it's something that every one of you should promote in terms of why she is so great. First of all, one of the first things that she did as she kicked off her campaign was to come to us AAPIs in Congress and ask to meet the caucus that I chair, the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or CAPAC. During this meeting, she asked about our concerns and our priorities. She was so impressive. She was so warm and responsive. She listened with undivided attention. But even more impressive, she actually knew so much about the issues that we talked about. She talked about everything ranging from immigration to higher ed. And not only that, she's gone even further. She is giving CAPAC time to speak on stage Wednesday evening. In fact, watch for it, everybody, because CAPAC is going to be on the national television for 12 minutes at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. How about that? And by the way, that is a historic first. CAPAC has never been asked as a caucus to be on the national stage during the Democratic National Convention. It's Hillary Clinton that made sure that that happened. And that's been her track record ever since the campaign began. When we in CAPAC asked her to attend the APAC's Gala in Washington, D.C., which of course is our premier event. This is our biggest national event that takes place every year. She committed right away to doing so. And as a result, there was the biggest attendance ever. 1,500 leaders from across the country. And she was the one that set aside the time to be there and to address us. She's also the only candidate to do a major AAPI outreach event. There's never been a presidential candidate that has actually taken so much care about the AAPI community that they started off with a major AAPI event. And so yes, in January it was in San Gabriel. Wait a minute, I see the city council member San Gabriel right here. And it was groundbreaking. Over 700 of us joined her in my Southern California district there in San Gabriel. And in fact, people came from all around the state, from Nevada, from Arizona, to be there to help kick off this incredible event. Then, there's the fact that she has an unprecedented number of AAPIs on her staff at the highest levels, including Huma Abedin, Dennis Chang, Mina Tamarashu, Olympic skater Michelle Kwan, and of course her AAPI outreach person, Jason Tango. Jason! So just judging from what she's done on the campaign, I know that when Hillary is elected as president, She will make sure that AAPIs are represented at the highest levels and that her administration will indeed look like America. And I'm so proud to announce that today the campaign has rolled out its new AAPI fact sheet called Stronger Together, Hillary's Plan to Break Down Barriers for AAPIs. Yes, how about that? It details her comprehensive plan to tackle the issues that AAPIs care about the most, like jobs, economy, education, and healthcare, and comprehensive immigration reform. It is so clear on these issues that are of great importance to all of us that she is the right choice for the AAPI community and the right choice for the whole United States of America. While this coming election is so important, and we AAPIs can make the difference, this is the other thing. Our voting power has doubled over the last decade. We are the swing vote in key swing states like Virginia, Nevada, and also right here in Pennsylvania. If we can get the AAPIs to all vote for Hillary Clinton, we can make a difference in the victories in each of the states, and that brings her even closer to the White House. So let's work together. Let's use these AAPI caucus meetings as an opportunity to network and to mobilize and to ensure that we are indeed going from being marginalized to being the margin of victory in 2016. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very, very much. Now I'd like to ask former Mayor Otto Lee to come up.
Good morning, Democrats. Good morning. Good morning, Democrats. Good morning. Energy. Well, welcome, and thank you to be here. I'm very honored to be here speaking with you as actually the newest elected DNC member from the state of California. I'm very honored here today also to speak to you about somebody who I dearly respect from the last 20-odd years since I've known him. I always see him as my role model, and he's a third-generation Japanese American. Honestly, really doesn't need much introduction in this room, but for those of you who might not have heard of him, his parents are born in the U.S., and even though he was born in the U.S., at the age of 1, he was sent to a Japanese internment camp during World War II, which, if you recall, this is something that this other presidential candidate claims is something that you should learn from FDR to do. It is absolutely atrocious. In any case, Mike Honda has represented our Silicon Valley, San Jose area for the last 30 plus years, starting as a school teacher, speaks fluent Spanish, served as planning commissioner into our assembly in California, and elected to our House of Representatives 14 years ago. And he's running for his re-election this time around. I'm sad to say there's another Democrat in the race. I call those Dino. You know what those stands for? Democrats and lean only? Exactly. And we need to really help him hard to win this election. And without further ado, I want to introduce to us our wonderful, awesome Mike Honda.
Thank you, Otto. Otto's a real easy name to remember. No matter which way you spell it, it still comes out Otto. Thank you, Otto. And, I've met Otto when I swore him in the city council. And he looks young now. You should have seen him 15 years ago when he really looked young. I had to convince the city of Sunnyvale that he had graduated from high school and that he would just come back and mature. in Iraq as a commander in the Navy. So he spent about three tours now, right? Oh, pay attention. 3 tours. Okay, thank you, Otto.
Thank you.
He's one of those guys that I'm so glad to see in DNC. It's so great to have Asian Americans on DNC. Let me tell you why. Because this is how decisions are made, and this is how we get to have our input. Being on the Rules Committee, being on the Platform Committee, being involved in the process of the democratic process and how we choose our issues and our candidates for president. So it's really, really important, and I'm glad to see so many of you. And there's a fellow named Keith O'Mara who used to chair the Asian Pacific American Caucus, and as it was in his national stage, so I just want to say thank you, good to see you again. And then Val, who went after him, and look around right now. You could take the room between the 2 posts, and we would never have filled that room. And today we have all of you opening up 4 sections of this room. So the Asian Americans have grown, and we have expanded, and we can even more diverse. And I think that this is something that we can be all proud of. And so I think this is our 4th convention today. So it says one of 2 things. We're hardy Democrats and we won't give up. We're getting over it. Maybe both. But talk about getting over, I saw a gentleman here, and you just need to say his name, Fritz. Fritz, how you doing? Stand up. Oh, you watched that? Yeah, and I saw him at the LA convention. But there's so many of us, so many new faces. And then when our chair mentioned Jason Tango, he's part of the Hillary's campaign. Let me also introduce KJ Bachi. KJ, where are you? I think we'll have to do that because we have to have our presence in every aspect and every tier of the party to have our presence known. And they're not there as window dressing, folks. They're in there battling for our positions, battling for our insights, and our perspective of what we think is important. And that's why it's really great to have folks like Delaro, who's on the platform, rules, right? No, issues platform. And so every one of us in some way are participating. And it doesn't matter whether we're recent immigrants or not. How many of you were born outside this country? Raise your hands. How many of you speak another language other than English? See? How many speak one language? That makes you American. But let's face it, Hillary has recognized the presence and the importance of Asian Americans in this country. She did it when she was First Lady, but she did even more when she was in the Senate. She met with those of us from the health communities. And that's why when Affordable Care Act came along, she was ready. She understood our needs as far as health gaps and everything else that we're concerned about. So let me just close very quickly by saying this. My father taught me as I was growing up, when you leave this house, be a good reflection of the family. Be a mirror of our family, be a good reflection of our family. We're going to run across this thing we call competition and bring our families together as a Democratic Party. And I want us to see us stepping outside this convention, at this convention over, as one family. A family that's going to stand up against people like Trump. If we had a party like we have today in 1940 and 41, I would have never been sent to camp. If we had this kind of a party back in 1880s, we would not have the Chinese Exclusion Act. Yeah. If we had parties like this with our sentiment, Native Americans would have a better break. Hawaiian natives would have a better break. All of us who are emerging diaspora in this country are having a better break today because we have a Democratic Party that understands discrimination, that understands the need for our families to stay together and be brought together. And that's why we needed comprehensive immigration. Well, let me tell you this. This is true. This is going to be hurtful. But you know, there's one person in Congress that disallowed the passage of comprehensive immigration, that disallowed comprehensive universal background check, that disallowed, could have prevented 32,000 people being killed with guns. And that's the Speaker. He had the power. One person had that power. Now we got to change that system. The Democrats, we sat in. We sat in Congress. Because what we wanted to talk about was important to this country. What did they do? They closed down the microphones. They shut down the cameras. They wanted that incident under the dome and no place else. But Mark Takano, a couple of other guys, and myself, we streamed what was going on. We broke the rules of the House. We broke the rules of the House. And what does that mean? That means that when we broke the rules of the House, we exercised what it was to be, what it is to be a citizen. Because we took an oath not to the government, but to the Constitution of the United States, and that gave us a right to be civilly disobedient when our government goes awry. And that day, and that week, and that time, our government was led the wrong way, and we had to step up and stand up when we sat in. So know that we have that leverage in this party. Know that we have that power in this party. Let's make our voices heard, our presence felt. And let's let Trump know that as people of good faith, we love him. But we hate his policies, we hate his position, and we hate what he's going to do to this country if he's in the White House. So no way that he's going to be in the White House. It's Hillary. Hillary and Tim Kaine. Hillary and Tim Kaine. That's what our voices are. We have people here with different religious backgrounds that we need to learn to say to each other. Assalamu alaikum. Sasiyakali. How are you? Ni hao. To make sure that people understand religion and cultures and language, and that we maintain that and don't get melted down into a homogeneous group. That's what makes us APIs. That's what makes us who we are. And I'm proud to be a Democrat. I'm proud to be an Asian American. And I'm proud to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. At this time, I'd like to ask Keith Umamoto, my treasurer and / secretary, to come up and introduce Congressman Bera.
Val just said keep it short, and I have no problem. I'm only 5'7". I've always been short. So anyway, I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, member of Congress. So those from California or know about California, think about how many congressional representatives are AAPI. And then you think about which ones have multiple API members of Congress. One that I grew up in LA, and one that I live now in Sacramento. Who would have thought Sacramento would have 2 AAPIs? So I first met Dr. Bera on a plane down to the executive board of the Democratic Party and talked to him about how to win the election. He got it together, he raised money, he already had raised money. And a phenomenal guy. Won in 2012, one of the few members of Congress who's a physician, and we need physicians in Congress, so they know healthcare reform and they'll talk, I'll just talk some points. And in addition to that, remember 2014, How much money do you think was spent in this race? $21 million. More than a lot of state U.S. Senate races. He won by 1,500 votes, and I'm glad that he did, because that moves Nancy Pelosi closer to Speaker. He's a wonderful guy. He stands for protecting all Americans. So, Dr. Ami Bera. Dr. Bera? So now I have to keep it shorter. So anyway, Dr. Bera has been phenomenal. And like our two congressmen, House of Representatives here, they really made a phenomenal team.
We got two stories up here. And while we're waiting for Dr. Bera, let me do a shout out for another group in our family. That's our LGBT. I'll tell you that. While Dr. Bera is coming up, let me do a quick shout out for our communities to make sure that we open up our hearts, talk to our older folks, let them know that we still love them. Just open up your hearts to the LGBT to address the transgender youngsters. Okay, this is Dr. Bera. Give it to you, Xavier.
Keep giving good introduction. Well, this is not California weather out there. Anyways, this is a great kickoff to a great convention and a great kickoff to a great year, because if we look at where we are in the AAPI Caucus and look at the candidates we have out there, we really have a great opportunity to expand our membership. Under Congresswoman Chu's leadership and Congressman Honda's leadership prior to that, in 2012 we really expanded our numbers and added 6 members. And in 2016, we want to add 6 additional members, 6 and 16. We then want to add in 2018, 8 and 18, and 10 and 20, because if we can expand our caucus size in the AAPI memberships in the House and Senate to roughly 30 members of Congress, we can start impacting the things we care about, immigration reform, making sure that we disaggregate information about our community and get down deep into education and healthcare outcomes and really start influencing legislation, because we know we are rising electorate. If you look at this election cycle and look at the AAPI vote in this coming election cycle, there are certain counties and certain areas around this country where just a brief push in turnout can actually swing this election. So this is a coming-of-age election for the AAPI community. You look at membership and leadership around the country. At the local level, I see one of my local mayors, Chris Cabalden here from the AAPI community, doing great things in West Sacramento. But you're seeing that next generation get involved, and our obligation is to make it easier to pay it forward and to get a full seat at the table so we can work on the issues that matter to us. And, you know, again, under Congresswoman Chu's leadership, she's doing a phenomenal job as our chair. And then with our godfather, Mike Honda. So let's make 2016 a year of the AAPI community. Let's get out there, let's rock the vote, let's win these seats, let's get the White House, let's pick up the Senate, and I'm going to put it out there, let's try to get the House of Representatives so we can start working on our values. Thank you.
Hi, Regine. Please come on up to introduce Congresswoman Bordallo.
Get it, Regine.
Oh, okay, Joaquin is here. Please come. King Paris.
Thank you, Bill. I'm actually Roy Rusticcio from Guam. I'm the immediate past chairman of the Democratic Party. But more importantly, I've been just asked to do something I'm always happy and honored to do, and that's to introduce our Congresswoman. Originally born in Minnesota, but she's Guam. She married a local boy many years ago who was a two-term governor, and so our Congresswoman in her own right was a former First Lady. She served in the Guam legislature. Now she's been a representative and a delegate to Congress for the last 7 consecutive terms, so that puts her at 14 years. And you know, in Congress, we believe that seniority is everything. And so we're very properly positioned to have our Congresswoman continue her representation, and we're even better positioned to have Hillary Clinton as the next President of the United States. So I'm so honored to introduce our Congresswoman. Thank you, everybody. Viva Democrats!
What's her name? What is her name? Tell her truth.
Buenas and half a day. Does anybody know what that means? How many people know what half a day means? Okay, well, we've heard about the great state of California, and I'm here to talk about the territory of Guam. First, I want to recognize my very dear friend, Bill, and Jadine, the Vice Chair, and my partner in crime. No, Judy Chu. I'm the Vice Chair under her, and I have to say this, and I think the other speakers have alluded to it, that she is the most active caucus chair in the U.S. House of the Congress. Honestly. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we have hundreds of caucuses. But this one, she meets 2-3 times a week sometimes. And she's brought in hundreds of associate members. So we are a big, important caucus, and her guests are all of the secretaries in the administration. We've had all of them, veterans and health, education. So Judy is doing a tremendous job, and I stand by her 100%. So Judy, take it out. I want to also thank Karen and our Stephanie for your help with the territory issues on our platform, and she helped to ensure that our unique issues are addressed. And I want to speak very shortly about Representative Takai. Now, I saw the short presentation that we have here and the kind words. He was a wonderful, wonderful man, served just 1 term in the U.S. Congress. But let me tell you the most important part of Representative Takai. He was educated in Guam. How many knew that? His education, his beginning of his, I think his father was stationed there, and Representative Takai came up to me the first day he was in Congress, and he said, guess what? I'm part Guamanian. So I said, oh, wonderful. And then he explained to me how he had been on Guam, he loved our red rice, he loved our kelaguen, and all our good food. So, but he was a very kind, and I also co-sponsored a great deal of legislation with Representative Takai. And I was shocked. I spoke to him just a few weeks before he passed. So I want you to know that he was a wonderful, wonderful man, very kind, very interested, and very, very supportive of territorial affairs as well. I want to say this. Oh, and I also want to introduce our delegation from Guam. Come on, stand up, everybody. We there. And you notice we're wearing red. Now, red doesn't really, you know, it's not passed off as Democrat here in the United States, but red in Guam is Democrat. I know it should be blue, but we're wearing blue tomorrow. But we started out with our red. So I want to say the AAPI group is probably one of the most powerful groups here. We can make a difference in this election. And I think Representative Honda mentioned the fact that, or I think it was Judy that mentioned the fact that this last convention last week in Ohio was embarrassing. I've been going to conventions since 1964. 64, and I'm only 29. But in 64, it was held in Atlantic City. And I remember it very well. And then from then on, all of the different conventions over the years. But the one in Ohio that was held was embarrassing. I can't believe that anything went on like it did, with a presidential hopeful up there speaking against certain groups of people and then changing his mind, and people yelling and hollering for our candidate to be locked up. You know, folks, that's just going too far. So I just want you to know that I think this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful convention. I know Hillary very well. We served as First Ladies together. She is very kind, she's understanding, she's been on Guam, not once but twice. And I'm very, very pleased that many of our issues and challenges that affect the territories, not just Guam, but American Samoa, the CNMI, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, they are in our Democratic platform, thanks to those that served in the platform committee. So hopefully, and I feel it in my bones, that we are going to have a woman president. And we make up such a large voting segment throughout the nation and in the territories. We can make a difference. And if we can get out that vote on election day, that's what's important. Sometimes we take it for granted, the weather isn't good or whatever. But get out, talk to your friends and your relatives, and get them to vote, and we will win this election. I'm sure of it. So I just want to say that Hillary knows the issues. She knows the issues. She's been a strong friend of our community as well as the other territories, and she will be a fierce advocate for us in the White House. And some of the things that I know you are aware of that will be stronger for the AAPIs from Hillary if she wins is number one, the fight for economy that works for all AAPIs, not just those on the top. To help AAPI and small business efforts, close the gender wage gap, raise the minimum wage, provide quality and affordable education, make college debt-free, and help AAPI graduates with their current debts. Also, invest in Asian American and Native American Pacific Islanders serving institutions. Provide every child with a world-class education. And she's an expert when it comes to health. Defend and expand the Affordable Care Act. So we've got a great candidate. We've got a woman candidate, the first in our history. So let's get out there, get the vote out, and we're going to have a woman president by the name of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.
One of the things that characterizes our caucus meeting is that we know how to be very flexible. So please bear with me. I see in the House Congressman Xavier Becerra, and I would love to welcome him at this time. So Keith, would you please introduce the Congressman?
And I'll keep it short again. So anyway, here's the switch. This gentleman was raised in Sacramento. I was raised in Los Angeles. He represents Los Angeles. I'm in Sacramento. In fact, I voted for him a few times when I was still registered in Los Angeles. A phenomenal member. He's been a member of Congress since 1992, I think. So the last time we elected a Clinton as President of the United States. He's done a phenomenal job in the House, passing a phenomenal amount of things that we need to keep in place in Congress with the help of all our AAPIs. He was former chair of the Hispanic Caucus. Let me introduce to you my friend, Xavier Becerra.
Thank you very much. Good. Is it still morning? Good morning? Is it morning? Okay, good morning. Drink your coffee. Good morning. There you go. It is great to be with you. It's a week later. We're not in Cleveland, so we're going to have a good time. Let me just say a couple of things. First, Tabel, who I think we all know is sort of the rock. She can also be the steer. But either way, she is, in so many ways, the heart of what drives politics in the AAPI community. We thank you for your years of doing this and always knowing how important it is to encourage communities of color to participate in the electoral process. Whatever you start, but just to participate. So thank you for what you do all the time. And to our chair of CAPAC, who has done just such a tremendous job of getting us to the next level. The fact that the President of the United States now attends the gala that we do in Washington, D.C. means we made it. We are in, and it's because Judy Chu is out there all the time working so hard on behalf of all Americans. But she also cares so much about the AAPI. And I saw my brother, my hermano, Mike Honda, who puts most Spanish speakers to shame when he speaks in Spanish. And Bill, you rolled those R's really well when you said mine too. I was really impressed. Can I just say a couple things to you? Así es. This election is personal, folks. I don't know about you, but I've never seen anyone at the presidential level talk about me so much in ways I didn't want to hear. This election is about us. It is about you. I know it's about me. And if I am smart, and if we are smart, we're going to recognize that it's about us. And this is personal. And I don't know about you, but when somebody talks about my kids, I stand up. When someone tries to get nasty with my family, I stand up. When someone says things that I know are not true about people I love, I stand up.
Yeah!
And I hope that what you are prepared to do is stand up. Because we need to take this election personally. We need to understand that when candidates talk about us, they better be right. And they better be nice. And if they're not, then get ready. Because we're going to be just like Bill. We're going to be rocks and we're going to be speakers. And we're going to be ready to take on whoever comes at us. This election is about us. This convention, when you walk into that convention hall tonight, you hearken back to last week and you take a look at that convention hall and you will see what I mean. That convention tonight will be about us. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am glad you are here. I hope you are ready because they are talking about us. And we want to let them know. We know who we are. We're going to let them know we are ready. We're going to win no November will be great. Hillary Clinton will be a phenomenal president, and we're going to have a Congress that's going to be ready to work with President Clinton, not obstruct everything she tries to do. Thank you very much for letting me come by. You have a great convention.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Congressman Becerra. For all of the electeds, may I ask you to also make yourself available. The media is still checking in, and so please stay around for media opportunities. Let me also recognize very quickly in the House is Constance Wu. Would you please stand up? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Senator Amy Klobuchar. She is the head of the Steering and Outreach Committee. She serves on the Judiciary Committee and leader on immigration reform. She's the second, her district has the second highest Hmong community in the country. Please welcome the senator from Minnesota.
To be here, and I promise you I will keep my remarks 70 minutes shorter than Donald Trump. That was really something. I actually sent out a tweet the next day, and I said, the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, appealed to the better angels in our nature, right? Yeah. Donald Trump gave a 76-minute rebuttal, literally, is what that was about, and it was incredibly divisive, and we have an opportunity this week to show a different face on America, to show America of all colors, America of all ethnicities, America of all religions, and I think this is going to be a much more positive convention, and people are really going to see what we're talking about for this country. I'm excited that we're starting out tonight with Bernie Sanders' speech. I think it's going to be opportunity for unity. Bernie's endorsement was incredibly strong of Hillary Clinton. And we're going to show the difference. We're going to show unity not just within our own party, but unity for our country, which is what I'm going to focus on. The Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander caucus here. This is something for people to think about when they think about our country. Because for so long, people haven't paid enough attention, in my mind, to Asian Americans. One of the things I learned this week as head of the steering committee, the incredible number of undocumented Asian Americans that are also in this country. So immigration reform focuses a lot on our Hispanic friends, but it should also focus on the Asian American community. I certainly learned that sitting right next to Mazie Hirono, my hero. Being the state that elected right back there our first Hmong legislator in Minnesota, Mimwa. I was there when she won her election. I was in the crowd and she stood on the stage and she couldn't stop crying. And she said it was her grandmother deep inside her that would not let her stop crying because of everything their family had gone through. And that's an immigration story. For me, my grandparents were actually from Slovenia. Melania. I know we don't look very familiar, similar, Melania and me, but in fact, I am Slovenian American and Swiss. And my story on the Swiss side is that my grandpa came through Ellis Island He ended up, they said, no, we've reached the quota on Swiss immigrants, true fact. And he somehow then got through Canada, then it gets very murky. He said he was going to Canada, but he somehow got into our country. He was considered an alien for 20 years. He literally, during World War II, then had to apply for citizenship, and he became a citizen. And I have that proud picture of him with his little bow tie on when he became a U.S. citizen. This is a country of immigrants. I stand on the shoulders of immigrants. My grandfather and I are a miner. My dad a journalist. My mom a teacher. And I was elected the first woman to the United States Senate from our country. Immigration and taking in refugees. I talk about the fact that of our Fortune 500 companies, 70 started by immigrants. It's an economic powerhouse. 200 of our Fortune 500 companies started by immigrants or kids of immigrants, and 25% of our U.S. Nobel laureates born in other countries. That is immigrants. That is America. Because I know every one of you have been affected by this. Every one of you, anyone that looks different in our country has been affected by this. I have the largest population of Somalis in our state. We have 100,000 Somalis in our state. And they all went through after 9/11. I was the chief prosecutor then. We worked with them to make sure there weren't hate crimes. And this story was told to me. There's a family that during that time of 9/11, those parents, they didn't suffer any discrimination. Now with the rhetoric of Donald Trump, with the divisiveness, this one family goes out to dinner with their 2 little kids. Guy walks by and says, "You 4 go home. You go home to where you came from." The little girl looks up at her mom and says, "Mom, I don't want to go home for dinner. You said you could eat dinner out tonight." You think of the innocent words of that child. She didn't even know what he was talking about because she only has one home. And that home was my state. She only has one home, and that home is the United States of America. So in addition to standing up and helping our candidates and making sure that Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine, our president and our vice president, I ask you to push back on that every single minute, whether it is against Asians, whether it's against Hispanics, and no one tells a little kid in the United States of America that they can't be president. We've never had a woman president. We've never had an Asian president. We've never had a Jewish president. We've never had a Muslim president. But no one tells a little kid in the United States of America that they can't grow up to be president. We are better than that. Let's get Hillary Clinton to the White House to win this election.
Thank you, Senator. At this time, I'd like to ask Jadine Nielsen to please come up and introduce Mayor Edley.
Hello again. I am just delighted to introduce, I live in Hawaii, but I was born and raised in San Francisco. And Mayor Ed Lee is our mayor in San Francisco. And with all due respect to all the other representatives and elected officials, I think the mayor's job is one of the toughest jobs in the nation. He has to deal with so many people up front and personal, and he is doing a terrific job. He's committed to the AAPI agenda. He promotes and appoints AAPIs in his administration. He works hard to elect other AAPIs to public office. And on a personal note, I'm very happy to say that he is a leader in the Chinese New Year Parade, which is one of the top 10 parades in the country. And a parade is not only cultural, but it brings together all the diverse cultures within the Asian Pacific community. And he's just been a wonderful mayor for San Francisco and a leader in our country. So please, Mayor Ed Lee.
Well, thank you, Jadine, for that wonderful introduction, Bill, and thank you to your leadership here. And of course, Congressman Judy, thank you for that sit-in in Congress. I watched that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How you all doing? Good. Is it exciting to be here in the Democratic Convention? Elect the next President of the United States? This is a wonderful opportunity. I see former Mayor of Oakland, Jadine here. Good to see you, Jadine. How are you?
How are you?
Everyone, thank you very much for being here this morning. You know, I had the honor of being part of a wonderful group of Democrats that met in Orlando just a few weeks ago to put together the platform and the issues that we all believe in. And it was a wonderful opportunity. We had, of course, representatives of Bernie Sanders there, Hillary Clinton, Democrats through and through, representing all of our values. And I had a tremendous opportunity to weigh in with many other Asians to make sure that this Democratic platform was something that we believed in. And we had an opportunity to improve it. We improved it in the areas of housing, homelessness, and LGBT rights and anti-discrimination. But I was also very proud of everyone getting together to say we needed to make sure Asians were counted. And we need to make sure that the census reflects all of the subgroups of Asian Americans. And that was, I was very proud to join many people to make sure language was in there, because when Hillary becomes president, we're going to make sure that all of us are represented. But I wanted to make sure that you knew something else, a little bit about me, a little bit about San Francisco. I wanted to tell you a little story. A few years ago, as the first Asian American, of course, the Chinese community in San Francisco is very proud. So they wanted me to come to Chinatown and to bless some event that they were holding. And the event was scholarships. You know how important education is for our Asian families, and you know how important that education means, that getting good jobs, good opportunities. So they wanted me as the first Chinese American mayor to kind of bless all the scholarships that family associations give out to their kids. And I said, you know, that's great. That's wonderful. I'll do that, but let me ask if you would consider something in addition to that. Because I'm very proud to be first Asian American mayor, but now I represent everyone. And I know that the scholarships are targeted at our Chinese families and kids. Would you do me a favor? Would you, for the first time in the history of the family associations in Chinatown, open up those scholarships to more than just the Chinese kids? And they said, God, we never thought about that. And we were so proud of you being the first Chinese American mayor, but why would you want us to do that? And I said, because it's our time. That we're no longer just for our own community. That we have, through me, through Judy, through so many others, Mike Honda and others that taught us and are teaching us to lead, that we should strive to represent everyone. And it's an opportunity for those scholarships, when you open them up to other kids, to represent the gratitude that we have as Asian Americans, that we're now getting beyond the walls of Chinatown and into living in, thriving in, and representing all of us in the entire community. And guess what? They did open that up, and now I'm going to my fourth ceremony where we have over 50 kids of all nationalities, and of course most of them are going to be Chinese because it's all funded by the family associations. But they've opened it up to Afro-Americans, to Latinos, and afterwards we all have dim sum together, we celebrate generations, but we get to have this moment where we say we've actually arrived in more than one way. That we're no longer just limited to our Japan towns, our Korean towns, our Chinatowns, but that we have an opportunity to represent everyone. I just want to end by saying, when we get to these offices and these positions, it is our responsibility not just to do what we can to make sure Asian Americans can break through all of the past discrimination, but let's keep that door wide open for everybody else. Let's build our community strong, because that's how the Democratic Party will be successful. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for being here, and have a wonderful Democratic convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lee. And as the mayor has been saying, and it has been the theme throughout the morning, the theme of this caucus, as well as our convention, is our time is now, and we are stronger together, right?
Yeah!
We're stronger together. Our theme of our time is now is both inspirational and aspirational. This theme is inspired by the extraordinary times that we live in, the many changes that have occurred in the last 8 years, the impact we have had as a community in the body politics, the inspiration to work harder, and the aspiration to achieve much, much more. I am so honored to have so many prominent leaders that have spoken to us this morning and that will be speaking to us throughout our session today and next Wednesday. The diversity in this room is reflective of the AAPI community as a whole, and we need to make sure that we have a seat at the table. We are the fastest growing group in the United States. A UCLA study last year predicted that the number of Asian American voters will more than double in the next 2 decades, and our influence will continue to grow. But recent data research and actual empirical evidence shows that we are already making a difference now. We have data that shows that the AAPI vote made a difference in a mayoral race in North Carolina. We have evidence that the AAPI vote was a margin of difference, of victory in Virginia. So our time is now, not 2 decades from now. We're strong and we're getting stronger. So today I call on all of you to be politically engaged and to mobilize that strength. We need all of you right now, right here. Our caucus meetings this week will feature 3 moderated panel discussions, and out of each panel we will ask our action leads / conveners, and I'm going to ask you all to please stand up, your action leads and conveners. You'll see a lot more of them as the day goes by and with the session. They will guide our planned future mobilization efforts, and I'd like to recognize them at this point and thank them for their activism and their commitment. Delaware Said, Francie Youngberg, Erica Moritsuku. They will each introduce the moderator of their panel, and then throughout the panel capture the salient points that comes out of the panel. And using that, they will go forward and develop a plan with those of you here, activists, that will volunteer for these actions. They will be the call to action lead, and they will convene at a later time, probably in August timeframe, and maybe again in September. More details to follow. And so we're going to have a conversation, right? Now and after you leave this convention, all of our voices in the AAPI community are essential in the fight ahead. We would like you to share your thoughts with us on social media using the hashtag our time is now, all together, one word. And this is just the beginning. So I also want to give a loud shout out to our fabulous all-volunteer communications and media team. Please wave your hands and stand back there. You all are standing back there. They're the absolute best because of their talents and creativity. We can boast that this is our most digitally connected convention in history, and we're taking the AAPI caucus online. The caucus will be live streamed on Periscope via the @AAPI for Hillary Twitter handle. Our hashtag our time is now, and hashtag AAPI@DNC. And for those on Snapchat in the room, we have a special edition AAPI 2016 DNC Snapchat filter, both at this caucus and at various AAPI events throughout the week. So that now at this time, I'd like to bring up the first panel. And I'd like to ask Klobuchar to come up and introduce the next panel.
Thank you, Val, and thank you for your leadership. So, as Val mentioned, this is where the conversation begins. So please don't leave. Real action is starting now. We come together here every 4 years, not only to reconnect with our friends, but also frankly to mobilize. And we've all heard that this is the most consequential election, and frankly this community's role will be the most consequential it's ever been. And I don't need to belabor the point why that is the case. So let me start by introducing Shekhar, and then we'll get into the conversation now at the panel. And I will be, as Val pointed out, will be the convener of this. And what that means is we're going to have an action plan. We're going to have strategies and tactics that we'll develop together with the help of many of you in the room. And we'll come back and have a conversation on Wednesday. And I am confident 7 of you, and I see a lot of young people in the room as well, will play a role to make sure that we actually deliver on this. So Shekhar, I think, is known to many of you. There are not many folks in our community who wears so many hats. He's been leader in business, an investor, has been consistently involved in the DNC, but also served in the President's AAPI Commission in his second term, and has played a wonderful role in mobilizing the community. And especially when it comes to this election, he is playing a role, along with myself, and many of us in the room, on mobilizing our voters to make sure that we are the margin of victory. So Shekhar will be moderating the panel, and Ben, I'm joining as well, the panel as well, and then we'll let you have Okay, so please join me in welcoming Shekhar and the panel, which is going to have 15 minutes, a very packed discussion.
Thank you, Klobuchar. So my wife saw the Republican convention, and on Thursday night we didn't sleep. We got up in the morning depressed, and then Friday evening something happened, and on Saturday morning she said it's morning in America. And it's because of something that happened in the state of Virginia. So a shout out to the state of Virginia and all of the Tim Kaine fans in the room. So for those of you who don't know, Tim Kaine's been a friend and an advocate for the AAPI community for over 15 years. I'm going to keep this very short. So we're going to go through a couple of questions, and then we're going to have to stop because I've been told to be really shorter, as you heard. John F. Kennedy said that the goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. And so we're going to vindicate what's right about our community and America at this convention. Since our panel is in the AAPI Caucus, and the title is Seize the Moment, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to just comment briefly on why they think now is to seize the moment. So our panel consists of Bera Saeed, who you just heard a second ago, who's an entrepreneur, runs a company in Silicon Valley. Jenny Yang, who many of you know is chairman of the Equal Employment and Opportunity Commission. Welcome, Jenny. Irene Bueno, who is a consultant, was in the Clinton White House, is well known to many of you. And Takai Lee, who's a professor at the University of California in Berkeley. So, with a very distinguished panel, Takai, can you start us off and tell us, from your perspective, obviously short, but why is now, for this community, the moment that we need to seize?
Okay, sure. Now's the moment, firstly, for a reason that I think we're all aware of over here, which is there's no other population in the United States that is growing as rapidly and as dynamically as the AAPI community. In 1960, in terms of census counts, the AAPI population in the U.S. was 880,000, and now we're over 20 million. The organization 18 Million Rising was barely initiated before we hit 20 million. The one reason that some of you may not be as familiar with is this is not just a California, New York, New Jersey, Hawaii story. This is a story that reaches out to a lot of battleground states in the U.S. this year. Florida, where the AAPI community has grown 72%. Nevada, where it's grown 116%. North Carolina, where it's grown 85%. Pennsylvania, where it's grown 62%. Virginia, where it's grown 72%. So we are an important force in the coming election. And there's evidence already from 2014 that the AAPI vote can be the margin of victory. If you look at Virginia in the Senate race, the AAPI's turned out for Mark Warner at a much higher rate in terms of Democratic voting than they voted in the general congressional elections in Virginia. And that seemed to be the difference between Warner winning and Gillespie winning. And the last thing I'll say on this point is, we know from the research that in 2016, more than 4 million AAPIs will come out to vote. It's also likely, unless we do something to make a difference, that more than 4 million AAPIs will also not vote. These are Asian American Pacific Islander citizens who are eligible to vote who will stay at home. And it's up to us to make sure that that 4 million number is as low as possible.
Thank you, Takai. Irene, why is now the moment? 30 seconds, please.
I'll just piggyback on what has been said, but I think this time around, we are organized. We've always had the nonprofit sphere, APIA vote, and others organizing our community, educating them, and getting them registered to vote. But now we have a number of PACs, including the Asian American Action Fund that I'm involved with, the APIA Victory Fund, CAPAC, whatever the number is, there's AOF, there's a number of PACs. So I think this time we are much more organized. We are showing our numbers in terms of fundraising and numbers. And just giving an example of what happened in Nevada in the primary, I think AAPIs in Nevada are about 5% of the population. And guess how much Hillary beat Sanders by? About 5%. So I think right there, well, the campaign and others saw the strength of AAPI community.
Thank you. So Jenny, they've given you the data, they've told you how it matters in elections. What do you think the singular thing sitting inside the government is that's making this the moment?
We're at a crossroads as a country. Over the last couple of months, we've all seen tragedy and heartbreak, and our community has an important role to play in leading us forward to our what unites us, away from what's dividing us, to see the connections between our communities and so many others that have been marginalized. And from the government, I'm speaking in my personal capacity, so let's stick with that. But what I have seen just through my career, my first convention was in '92. I graduated from college, and I volunteered at the DNC. I volunteered in New York. And to be in a room and to hear an inclusive message for really the first time in my life, it made me proud to be an American. It made me proud of our country. Flash forward 24 years, and it is time for us to make that difference. We know that we had that potential. There was no room like this 24 years ago, and we need to mobilize because we have no choice. It's important for our country, and it's important for our world.
Thank you. As a Muslim American, 1% of America is Muslim, 4 times as many AAPIs. Why is this the moment for AAPIs in general and Muslims in particular?
Well, I think hopefully that shouldn't be a very long answer, but let me say this.
One word, starting with T.
Let me say this. We are a community of educated people, many faiths, many countries of origin, if you will. We have to be very, very smart, very speaking about us being really a margin of victory. The election will be decided in 6 states, actually 21 precincts. And when you look at those states and those precincts, our community actually hasn't come out to vote in the past as much as others have. And yes, when you add to it the actual bigotry and hate that has been targeted at both the community but also the Muslim community, what we're seeing is an opportunity for us to not necessarily just drive the vote, but also to have people respond to that. And what we have seen, like if I quickly from the AAPI Victory Fund, that our early campaigns, we have seen people are responding via registry at a much higher rate than folks have done in the past. So the community has woken up to reality. This is the, frankly, consequential election for their children's future. So I think we need to be very smart about focusing on where it really matters. And given what's going on in the country, the temperature, if you will, we we sort of mobilize the community to make sure folks understand that their vote would matter. I'll tell you this, I'm not too far from Nevada and California. A lot of folks in Nevada don't fully internalize in our community that their vote will decide the presidency of the United States. We have to make that argument very, very clearly that Filipino Americans, 60% of the API community there, and you know what, those votes in that county, Clark County, will make the difference. So I think we have to be a lot more smart and strategic about this, and obviously with the organizations gathered here, we can make that argument clearly so folks truly understand that this is a controversial vote and it's not a diffused vote that we are going to make a difference on
Thank you, Dilawa. Last question, because we're being deferential to the other panels. So now you got to tell me one thing, and you can do it by anecdote or personal, that you're doing that's a call to action for our community. What's the one thing you're doing, either an anecdote or a personal thing? Takai.
Well, as a researcher, I think part of my job is to shine a light where people aren't looking, or where people don't have the cultural competence to see. So what I'm doing is trying to collect the best available survey polling data on where Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are, both politically and in terms of the whole range of policy issues. And by AAPI, I don't just mean the 6 largest groups, Asian, Indians, Chinese, Filipinos, Japanese, Koreans, Vietnamese, but also collect representative national level data on Pakistanis, on the oceans, on Cambodians, on Pacific Islander Native Hawaiians, and do it in the many languages that capture the full diversity of our community. The good news is from the polling data that is already out. In 2012, Obama outvoted Romney by an almost 3-to-1 margin, and it seems like from the polling data that's already out so far, AAPI seems to be supporting Clinton over Trump by more than a 3-to-1 margin. So let's hope that momentum continues.
Irene, what's the one thing you're doing?
I'll pick one. The one thing I'm doing is I'm working to make sure that AAPIs are appointed to high level and other positions in the Hillary Clinton administration. And I'm doing that through a new nonpartisan organization called the Leaders Forum, and I'm glad to see Shagar, Fritz, and I'm sure there's others in the room who are part of the Leaders Forum, which includes a lot of business leaders and others that might have not been involved in the political process, but it is a bipartisan group. So I'm co-chairing something called the Pipeline Committee with Chief, who's a Republican, but we are trying to be more strategic and organized, again, using that word, to make sure that APIs are considered for high-level positions. I'm sorry, I don't have the handouts today, but you can look at our website. It's www.leadersforum.org. But we have worked with our brothers and sisters in the LGBT community to learn what they did in 2008 to be so successful in getting a lot of LGBTs appointed. So we have something on the website where you can apply. There's a lot of information, frequently answered questions, and we will organize and collect resumes and we'll recommend them to the transition into the White House Presidential Personnel Office. So I hope that you will consider appointment, look at that website, share it with your friends, and let's get lots of AAPIs in this next administration.
Thank you, Irene. Fabulous. Okay, Jadine, outside the government, in your personal capacity, what's the one thing?
I am committing to organize my friends, my neighbors, and my kids to get out in communities, to knock on doors, to make phone calls, and to ask for people's votes. We know that we need to make sure our community appreciates how important it is that they make the time to vote. And in the past, I've seen many friends interested in helping, but not really know how to connect. And I think we all have a role to connect people in our neighborhoods and to make it fun. Look, we're going to catch up with your friends, you get your steps in. I'm going to tell my kids they can catch their Pokemon on the way. And we can make this a community effort. So please think about even the unlikely people that you can bring along with you so that we can reach more people.
Thank you. And Dilawa.
So we have an incredible influence and we're a vision of strength in the tech sector in Silicon Valley. As a tech entrepreneur, one thing that I'm committing along with various things we're focused on that is to make sure that community, Asian American entrepreneurs and business leaders are truly getting involved in this action. Frankly, that community doesn't really come out. I'm probably one of the very few folks from the Valley. If you look at how what startups are founded and run by an AAPI. So that's an incredible influence, affluence that can really, really turn the tables. Now, in my hat as a convener, and I'll end with that, we're going to need your help. So I know you got some, I guess, feel of what we are talking about in terms of organizing and get out of the board. So I'd love to talk to you, whoever wants to speak after this, me or Trick, or how do you get involved. So when we reconnected on Wednesday, we actually have a team of people who can think about strategies and tactics to get out of the board, especially those things. So those are my 2 areas of focus.
Thank you, Dilawar. So I'm going to wrap this panel up. And I want you to just remember one thing. There are only 2 moments in life. There's a moment called now, and there's a moment called it's too late. Which one are we for? What's our moment? Now. So seize the moment, and thank you very much to Taiko, Irene, Jenny, and Dilawar. Thank you all.
So, let me quickly ask the Congressman Takano, and we'll come up, but I don't know his interest. Sunita, are you in the house? Sunita leads.
Good morning, Democrats. How are you today? Great to see you. My name is Rob Bonta. I serve in the California State Assembly. I'm the first and only Filipino American state legislator in this state, California. I'm also deeply honored to be the chair of the California AAPI Legislative Caucus, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity today to introduce a star of the California Congressional delegation, Congressmember Takano. Congressman Takano, as you all know, has been a warrior for us. He's stood up on so many issues. He's increased health care for our veterans. He's fought against over-testing and in support of our public schools. He's fought for comprehensive immigration reform and also to protect the Affordable Care Act. He's also the grandson of immigrants, and both his grandparents and his parents were interned during World War II. And because he knows that we can't repeat the mistakes of the past, he is firmly committed to ending the dangerous and misguided candidacy of one Donald Trump. He's also, thank you, and he also is a former educator, and while he may have thought his days of grading papers were behind him, he still regularly, as we see on social media, gets out the red pen and schools congressional Republicans on a range of issues from net neutrality to immigration reform. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome and hearty round of applause to Congressman Takano.
Thank you, Rob, for that great introduction. Wow, look at our presence here at the convention. Quite amazing. I've been to several conventions, and this is really inspiring to see so many AAPIs here. I want to just touch on a summer note. This might have been touched on earlier by other speakers. We lost a great soldier in the cause for AAPIs, and that was my good friend, Representative Takai, who succumbed to pancreatic cancer just last week. So I just want to have a brief, we don't have to go over this as I'm sure, but Judy and I have talked about him and just how much he cared about AAPIs and how much he came to the CAPAC meetings. You know, we don't have people like Mark come along all the time. I just want to express my sense of loss about that. But let me say what a great honor it is to be a first. Rob, what a great thing that you are the first Filipino American in the California State Legislature. Amazing accomplishment. The Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus is bigger than ever, poised to get even bigger. Now, you know that I don't like this term. The first LGBT member of Congress is also a person of color. It's kind of long, so you can just call me Gasian for short. And you know what it means to be Gasian is, you know, to represent the intersection of Asian and gay, and you know, both are kind of right at the periphery of things, and we know what it's. I know what it's like to be marginalized doubly, and I carry the memory of my family history, and instead of running away from that history, I embrace it, I study it, and I vow to take that experience with me in the Congress every day. And so, when we see Orlando being attacked, and the Republicans ignoring the fact that this attack happened at an LGBT club, I will not allow that to be glossed over, and I will demand that to be recognized. And much more than that, I will not allow people to use that as an example to not only marginalize, but to mete out mass or collective justice to the Muslim community. As a Japanese American, I know it's my duty to speak out whenever anybody is made the face of the enemy unjustly and treated with collective justice. So I will stand up on the House floor and make sure that I speak not only for Asian Americans, LGBT Americans, but for all Americans, and that, at this present moment, includes Muslim Americans. So, anyway, we got to keep this moving. Thank you so much, and onward, victory to the Democrats. Onward, we're gonna elect Hillary president, and we're gonna defeat this strongman pretender, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Congressman. At this time, I'd like to bring up Francie Youngberg as the action lead / convener to introduce the next panel. Please bear with me. We have to be a little bit flexible. Sunita, please come up and introduce Raja, and then we're going to introduce the panel.
Good morning. You know, like many of us in this room, Raja has lived the American dream. He was born to a teacher in Illinois. He attended public schools. And he went to college and law school with a Helping Scholarship and student loans. And I'm sure his Asian parents were very proud that those universities he went to were Princeton and Harvard. After establishing a successful career in law, he answered the call to public service. He served as Assistant Attorney General on the Illinois Housing Development Authority and then as Deputy State Treasurer. And then in March of 2015, when our very own Tammy Duckworth announced her race for U.S. Senate, Raja decided to run for her seat. And in March of 2016, he won the three-way primary, the open primary, and he's now the Democratic nominee for the 8th Congressional District. On a personal note, I just want to say I met Raja about 7 years ago, and I can tell you he's one of the nicest, hardest-working candidate I ever met. He's dedicated to his family, his country, and his community, and he will make a wonderful colleague to all the other elected officials you've seen up here. Please help me welcome Raja Krishnamoorthi.
Good morning. Good morning, Democrats. Good morning, AAPI. Are you happy to be here today? I am. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Sunita. I want to say a special thank you to the AAPI Asian American Caucus. Can you give them a big round of applause? Val and Xavier and everybody has done a wonderful job. Everywhere I go in Illinois, I get asked one question. The question is, what does Raja Krishnamoorthi mean? Where did you get that funny sounding name and what does it mean? And I say it's very simple. Translated from an ancient Asian language, it means Congressman for the 8th District of Illinois. And you might be wondering, what is the 8th District of Illinois? These are the suburbs just west of O'Hare International Airport in Chicago, Illinois. It's represented by a wonderful Congresswoman, Tammy Duckworth. Now Tammy, I think Tammy's going to be our next United States Senator. What do you guys think? Now this congressional district may also be familiar to you because it has one of the highest concentrations of AAPI folks of any congressional district anywhere in the country. Roughly 14% of the district. Now, about 16 months ago, I announced for this congressional seat after Tammy announced for the U.S. Senate seat. I'm proud to say after a heavily contested Democratic primary of 3 people, I ended up winning with 60% of the vote. And now, we are going into the general election with a lot of momentum. The biggest recent update is President Barack Obama just endorsed me for Congress, making me only the 3rd congressional candidate he's endorsed for the House in this cycle. I didn't come here just to talk about endorsements and mechanics of the campaign. I came here to talk about why I'm running for Congress and why it's important to you. And the reason why I'm running for Congress is very simple, and that reason is you. Like my family, many of your families came here with nothing. Nothing in their pockets. Except they brought their tradition, they brought their culture, they brought their education, and they brought their work ethic. And they worked tirelessly, day and night, to put food on the table for your families, to put a roof over your heads, to educate their beautiful children, and now they and you are a success in the greatest country the world has ever known, the United States of America. And so, although my name is Raja Krishnamoorthi, I stand on your shoulders to reach for the stars to be in the world's greatest deliberative body, and my name might as well be Raja Leong Hong, or Raja Lee, or Raja Patel, or Raja Shah. The point is that we are all in this together. I may be running this race, but we run together as one, unified, as an AAPI community, because we recognize that if you don't have a seat at the table, you are on the menu. And we are not going to be on the menu in this country. We are going to have a say in the decisions that are made at the highest levels of government. And so with that, I want to say 2 final things. One, we are going to support Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine with everything we got in 2016. Do you agree with me? Because Hillary is ready and Kaine is able. I close with my favorite saying, which is that yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, but today's a gift. That's why we call it the present. And so I'm honored and blessed to be with you here today in the present, to celebrate the future of our community, to celebrate the future of AAPI folks all over this great land, and how together we're going to make America a better place. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Okay, now let's bring out the panel. There are a couple of more things after this panel that I do want you to be aware of. Karen Matasaki is going to follow the panel. She's going to talk about the platform committee after this.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see everybody. It's like a family reunion at these conventions. Thank you, Belle, for inviting us to be here today. I'm Francie Youngberg, and I'm the action lead for this panel, and I look forward to talking more with you on Wednesday when we talk about the actions that we're going to take this panel to moving forward. So for now, I just wanted to first introduce the panel. This one is called Our Persona, the Fight for Visibility. I think you've already heard several speakers talk about the time is now, and certainly the fight for our persona has been ongoing, and it's being carried to the next level. And we have a wonderful panel here. I wanted to first introduce to you Fritz Friedman, which many of you know, I'm sure by now. He spent 34 years as an executive at Sony Pictures Home Entertainment, and he's done work both on the Sony Pictures Worldwide Acquisition and Sony Pictures Entertainment. But what you might not know about Fritz is that he was actually born in Manila, he was raised in Boston, and he was the first Asian Pacific American male to have graduated from Vassar College. So it's a great opportunity for me because Fritz is also a personal friend, and I met him back in 1996 when I was the first AAPI executive director, and he had founded CAPE, which is the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans in Entertainment. And it was groundbreaking at the time because they helped advance not only the interests of the artists in the industry, but they were very well connected to the Asian Pacific American community and the organizations. And he has been working tirelessly with different groups around the country for years, so really it's a pleasure to be able to introduce him today. Fritz.
Thank you so much, Francis, for that kind invitation. You know, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to get right into it. First of all, I do want to introduce to you the panelists. To my right, to your left, I'd like you to meet Keisha. Keisha Ram is a candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Vermont. She was elected to Burlington's Old North End and University District. She attended the University of Vermont, where she graduated with a degree in National Resource Planning and Political Science. And next to her, of course, is Constance Wu, who's becoming very quickly for us, very thanks to her role on the hit comedy Fresh Off the Boat, which I think has just signed up for its 3rd season. Constance was born in Taiwan, graduated from State University of Purchase, and we're so happy to be here. She's taken really quite the lead in Hollywood over the presence of, or at least the presentation of Asian Pacifics and diversity in the entertainment business. We're going to hit on that in a second. And then next to Constance is Mark Hammond, who is the Virginia delegate, and he represents the 35th district in Virginia. Mark was born in Seoul, and he, of course, lives in Vermont. Talk about peripatetic. Born in Seoul, went to Australia, then moved here to the United States. It's really quite extraordinary, if you ask me, how people can do that. But I myself, of course, as mentioned, was born in Manila, and I think what we all share is the fact that 3 out of the 4 of us are immigrants. But all 4 of us, 2 of us are immigrants. But what is interesting, is her microphone on? But what is interesting is the 4 of us all chose non-traditional careers, non-traditional for Asian Americans. So Constance, why don't you tell us how you got into the business and whether you got the sort of support that you needed and how you got to where you were?
Okay. Actually, I wasn't born in Taiwan, I was born in America. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. So I was very pleased to hear about Tim Kaine because he was mayor of my town when I was a kid. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, where there was a really active community theater scene, and that's sort of where I found my tribe, was with theater people. And Kaine actually frequented a lot of those community theater shows. He was a strong member of the community. And then from there I studied classical theater at a BFA program. I did regional Shakespeare productions, off-Broadway productions in New York for a while, and then I moved to Los Angeles, where after a few years of struggle, I booked the ABC show Fresh Off the Boat. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but the thing I really realized about that was that show was the first show on network television in over 20 years that featured Asian Americans in leading roles telling their own unique stories. So to have a 20-year drought and then the immediate year after that, to have 3 shows starring Asian Americans, additionally, that were picked up, to go from 0 in 20 years to before, and that doesn't even include the pilots that weren't picked up, shows that Asian American attention and voting matters, because they wouldn't have made those other shows the year after my show if our show hadn't garnered a large audience that was really hungry for that type of content. So I really strongly encourage all Asian Americans and Virginians to go out and vote.
Politics and entertainment are just two sides of the same coin. Because on many levels, it's our image or lack of image that is the problem we've been experiencing, but I think things are changing. So in the arena of politics, Keisha, as a woman, how's it been for you to sort of support, especially in Vermont? Is Vermont a diverse state, would you say? How did you get there without that sort of background?
Well, I have to admit, I've never watched the show Fresh Off the Boat, but a lot of people tell me I have to watch it because I grew up in my Indian immigrant father and Jewish American mother's Irish pub in Los Angeles. So, if you name a steakhouse, it's so similar. And so, how I got from Los Angeles to Vermont is another story, but indeed, Vermont is one of the whitest states in the country. I am the first South Asian person or woman of Asian American descent to serve in the state legislature in Vermont. And I'll tell you how that happened, and it's a story that's really wrapped up in what's happening at this convention and past conventions. When I was a sophomore at the University of Vermont, I was really nobody in particular, but I was willing to speak up and use my voice. And Bernie Sanders was running for the US Senate for the first time in 2006, and they were looking at who was on stage with him. He was going to bring a rock star senator from Illinois, but they wanted a young woman to introduce the event. So I got up and I talked about why it's so important for young people to get involved in the political discourse, whether it's student debt or climate change. These issues will be resolved on our backs if we're not part of the political conversation. And they went on down the line, Bernie spoke, and then finally this rock star senator from Illinois that he brought got up to speak, who brought 7,000 Vermonters out, which is over 1% of our population. And he got up and started talking about the arc of the moral universe bending toward justice. And I thought, wow, I've never heard a mainstream politician speak that way. And then he said, I have a father from Kenya and a mother from Kansas. And I thought, wow, I have a father from India and a mother from Illinois. I've never heard an American politician with a story like mine. He said, I have a funny name no one can pronounce. And I thought, so do I. And in the middle of all of it, he said to Bernie, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to run Keisha for the Senate instead of you. It was the first time anyone encouraged me to run for office, and we both shared a ballot 2 years later, he running for president, Senator Barack Obama, and I was running for the legislature for the first time.
Virginia, you represent the district in Virginia House of Delegates. What was it like, the sort of support you got from your community, both in the aggregate and also as far as the diverse community supporting you? Did you find that?
Sure. First of all, I thank you first, and thanks to all of you staying here. I know it's been a long morning so far. Looking around, there are quite a few more empty seats than there were in the beginning. It's almost starting to look like Cleveland for a second. Just around empty seats. But actually, the funny thing is, no matter how small or how big this group is right now, we have more Asian Americans in this room right here than in the entire Republican Party of America as Asian Americans. Secondly, when you mentioned that this panel is going to be about the movie industry, the entertainment industry, the media, and politics, and the lack of Asian American faces and lack of Asian American role models, reminded me of the old saying that we say in Washington, D.C. They say that politics is for ugly people. It's Hollywood for ugly people. And I think it's sitting next to Constance. Boy, I guess they were right because I'm here and she's here. So, but I'm really glad to be here. Let me just say a couple things. First of all, coming from the Commonwealth of Virginia, along with Constance, who was born in the Richmond area, it is a very, very exciting time. We are the home state of the next future Vice President of Virginia. But I'm also sharing the stage here with the woman who is the home state of Bernie Sanders. And there's something that Bernie Sanders and Tim Kaine have in common, in addition to, of course, our nominee Hillary Clinton. And that is, they both, and all three of them, got into politics for the right reasons, to care for the people that they represent, to make the government work in the most effective way possible, using the taxpayers that we pay, so that we gain back everything that we're supposed to get back as part of the American dream here. And the reason why I want to start with that is because 240 years ago, about 3 weeks before that, 204 years ago, on July 6th, there were a group of people that got gathered right here in the city, just down the street from here. And they signed this Declaration of Independence, authored by a Virginian, Thomas Jefferson. And that document said, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And when he said that, he meant men. When they said that, he meant free men. Slaves were not included. Minorities were not included. Women were not included. And so today, we're about to nominate a woman to replace an African American with a vice president from the Commonwealth of Virginia that wrote the Declaration. And we had a robust election cycle that brought in more young people thanks to the gentleman from Vermont. So Virginia, Vermont, and New York, and all of us are participating in the biggest democratic experience that's ever been. But here's the kicker, folks. This is why we're here. That document didn't have our name on it. That document didn't have any Asian American signatories, no presence. But that parchment paper was yellow. Let's think about this, folks. We were part of the Declaration of Independence even if our names were not in it. Today, at this convention, we're going to make sure that Asian Americans are present in every aspect of this democracy. So that's why I'm here, and I'm excited to help you all and help Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine, my state, U.S. Senator, become my Vice President.
Thank you. Last May there was that outstanding page 1 arts and leisure section in the New York Times, which you did with B.D. Wong and Daniel Day Kim about the issue of diversity. Let me ask you this, do you think there's any significant movement now to bring more diversity in the entertainment business?
Any specific movements?
Well, I mean, you have what the Academy is trying to do.
I mean, I know that the Academy has made some small moves towards diversity, but they're still moves. And I think that, you know, mobilizing other Asian American artists to speak up, even if their voice is different than yours, and supporting them and having their own voice has become kind of a new thing within the Los Angeles Asian American community. And I think it's good because it addresses the complexities of Asian American representation. Because obviously, you know, we're grouped as Asians, but within that, we are very different. Cambodians are different than Japanese, that are different than Korean, or Chinese, or Taiwanese Americans. So, I mean, my hope is that me being vocal on the issues gets other people talking and initiates change.
Have you been getting good feedback from people in that article?
Yes, it's been overwhelmingly positive, and especially from people who felt things in private, but never felt that they had the right to speak or be heard, even if they did speak. I think that's one of the best things that art can do for us, is make us feel less alone in the world, so that we have a community or a person that understands us.
Thank you. Keisha, so, and also Mark, from a political standpoint, of course, I think Asian Americans are starting to move towards the Democratic Party, especially the young crowd, right? And I think one thing that's happening is that there's supposed to be like 48 different languages among the Asian American community in the United States. But I think as the second and third generation come in, they are more American than their ethnicity, and therefore the Asian American bloc is becoming more solid. And that also impacts, concepts perhaps the sort of creative process, the content that's being developed. So how have the young demographics among the Asian American communities been helpful to you and your respective election endeavors?
Well, of course, until my Indian grandmother passed away, she would always ask me, but what are you really going to do instead of politics? How are you really going to earn money? So, of course, we all grow up with that, and we shouldn't lose who we are and our heritage. And, as Mark and I can appreciate and convey to you, it really all happens in the state and local level. So we see folks at the congressional level and we think, wow, they just emerged on the scene. How did they get there? But when you think about what it takes to get to the level of Congress, I'll tell you something, some numbers. When you look at elected officials from school board to Congress, less than 5% are under the age of 35. And when you look at that number, about 25% of that, so 1.5% of the total, are young women. And when you look at who are Asian American, you know, it's a tiny, tiny fraction. And then when you flip that and look at how many people in Congress started before they were 35, it's over half. So a lot of the white men who are in Congress now started in politics when they were much younger, and they built the bench. And I'll tell you what, conservatives are much better at doing that than we are. We really have to focus on the city council races and the school board races and the state legislative races in order to get the people ready who are going to be the next generation of leaders of the country.
But Mark, do you have a POV on? Sure. We're talking about.
Let me share a couple of stories, because I think what Keisha said is absolutely true, that we have to start early. But in order for somebody to be exposed to a new industry, whether it's business, politics, whatever field that you choose, and entertainment in particular, you need role modeling. There's no way that somebody can start imagining and envisioning themselves in a job unless they've seen somebody that looks like he or her doing the same job. And that goes true whether you're an ethnic minority, you're a female, a person with LGBT background, whatever it might be, or a Muslim faith, or any other faith that's not the traditional models. You need somebody that's already done it. And let me tell you this little story, because I was at the White House a couple of days ago for some briefings that the state legislatures got together. And the White House staffer told me this story, which really, really touched me. We were walking through the West Wing, and there's a really famous picture of a little boy, an African-American boy, leaning over and rubbing the president's head, because he kind of leaned down at the Oval Office. And I was looking at this picture, and she said, related to that story, she said, there was a white kid that came to the White House for a little tour with his parents. I think he was about 5 years old. His parents were walking around, looking at all these pictures, having a wonderful time seeing the White House. And the staffer said, so kid, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he was a white kid from the Midwest. And the white boy said, when I grow up, I want to be the vice president. And the staffer said, well, that's wonderful, but wow, you can strive a little bit harder. You might just try to be president. And the little boy said, no, only black people can be president. Imagine this, a 5-year-old boy, his whole life, his paradigm is African Americans are presidents, white men are vice presidents. That's a paradigm. Imagine that child being 45, 50, 60 years old. Is he or she going to be more open to diversity than somebody who's already 50, 67 years old? That's the point that Keisha's making, right? Second part of this, somebody has to be the first. Whether it's entertainment, or in law, or politics, or business, or government, somebody always has to be the first. But nobody wants to be the last, right? We have to be the first, but not the last. And you've all heard the saying about the early bird gets the worm. There's a corollary to that, which I actually subscribe to. Early bird might get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. Think about it. The second mouse gets the cheese. There's got to be one mouse that goes there. What's that device there? That's really weird. But there's a smelly, tasty cheese. I'm going to go for it. Snap! It's chocolate. But one sacrifice allows for others to come and enjoy the cheese. That is what I have been able to do because of Danny Noe, Pat Sidney, Hiram Thomas, Roman Hill, Tom Stewart, Mike Conley, all these great leaders in our community. They opened those doors. They were our first mice. They did a fantastic job. Because of that, we have more cheese. But it doesn't end there, because there are lots and lots of mice traps out there. So somebody has to be the first, whether you're talking politics or in entertainment, somebody has to take the risk, but as soon as he or she's out there, they need support from the community, and the young folks need to see that that is a path for them, but together, we need to eat more cheese.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is kind of putting on about 45 minutes, all right? And there's so much good to talk about. But unfortunately, we can't this cycle, but maybe the next. I want to thank the three of you so much for taking the time to be with us. It means a lot to this community to have you here with us. And Valerie, going to come up? Here we go. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, I am between you and lunch, so we have a few more speakers. Don't worry though. I think that We've talked to some of the speakers, and they have agreed to come back and talk to you on Wednesday instead. Karen will go to the platform committee and have the vote, and she'll have a lot more to report on Wednesday. So instead of having Karen come up and talk to you now, we'll have her come up on Wednesday so that she can tell us all about it. So one last thing I want to do is to ask the action leads to stand up one more time. Please get to know them, because they're going to be the ones that are going to lead us into activism beyond the conference. So with this, I think I want to just close very quickly by telling you all that I think what you've heard all session long is a reinforcement of our theme. Our time is now, and it's time to act. Thank you all very much. See you on Wednesday. Enjoy the between now and Wednesday morning, and look forward to seeing you back again.